Hi there, Aaron Walter here. If you're hearing this, you're not currently on our premium subscriber feed. Design Better premium subscribers enjoy weekly episodes, 4 episodes per month in total, rather than 2, all ad-free, and invitations to our monthly AMAs with the smartest folks in design and tech. You'll hear a preview of this episode, but if you'd like to hear the full conversation, please consider becoming a premium subscriber at designbetterpodcast.com/subscribe. It's just $7 a month, and it supports not only your personal growth, it also makes our work at Design Better possible. The podcast is available to everyone through our scholarship program. If you can't afford a subscription, email us at subscriptions@thecuriositydepartment.com, and we'll help you out.
In my career, working with dolphins, cetaceans, a lot of really intelligent, obviously cephalopods, you see the intelligence, and you do create a connection. You create an affinity with one particular dolphin over another one because it's more friendly to you or it engages with you.
Over the years, I've spent a lot of time diving and doing photography, from running an underwater photography magazine in the early 2000s to doing research work using towed underwater camera systems. So I've got a huge amount of respect and admiration for folks that are at the top of their craft. And after watching the Academy Award-winning documentary, My Octopus Teacher, I knew that I needed to learn more about the cinematographer Roger Horrocks.
Roger is an amazing person and an award-winning wildlife cinematographer with over 15 years of experience filming behavioral sequences for the BBC, Netflix, Disney, and National Geographic, in addition to his work on My Octopus Teacher. There's a lot of overlap between photographic work and what it takes to be a good designer. And we talk with Roger about how he shapes a story and collaborates with directors and editors, cultivating patience, and how generative AI fits into his creative workflow. Plus, we also ask him what it was like to swim with great white sharks and Nile crocodiles.
This is Design Better, where we explore creativity at the intersection of design and technology. I'm Eli Woolery.
And I'm Aaron Walter. You can get ad-free episodes, bonus content, discounted workshops, and access to our monthly AMAs with big names in design and tech by becoming a Design Better premium subscriber. It's also the best way to support the show. Visit designbetterpodcast.com/subscribe to learn more. We'll return to the conversation after this quick break. This message is sponsored by Greenlight. In the Walter household, we're big fans of Greenlight, and I'd like to introduce you to my son, Bellamy, who's 10, to tell you just how amazing Greenlight is. Hey, Bellamy, you made a big purchase recently. What did you buy?
An electric scooter.
Are you pretty excited about it?
Yeah.
How did you manage to pay for something so pricey?
Well, I've been saving up a lot, and I invest in a lot of companies.
And you did that with a special account that I was able to set up that gave us an opportunity to learn together about investing, right?
Yeah.
So I set up a custodial account, and what kind of companies did we invest in?
I invest in Minecraft, Roblox, and Tesla.
And how'd you learn about all that stuff? You seem pretty smart about how to manage your money.
Greenlight.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more about it.
Yeah, it's a debit card for kids. And kids can use it to pay for stuff that they really like or want, like a toy or a bike or something.
So probably tomorrow you should be getting your new scooter. Do you have any big plans?
And I think I'm gonna ride around with my brother.
Bellamy has learned so much from using Greenlight, and I know that your kids will too. Sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/designbetter. That's greenlight.com/designbetter to try Greenlight for free. greenlight.com/designbetter.
Support for Design Better comes from our friends at CrashPlan. Visit crashplan.com/designbetter for 50% off your first year of CrashPlan. From my daughter's first birthday to my son's first soccer game, if you're like me, you have thousands of precious family photos that only exist in digital form. That's why I've been using CrashPlan for a decade and a half now to back up all my important files. CrashPlan works efficiently in the background while you work, encrypting and sending all your new or changed files up to their secure cloud server every 15 minutes. And they make it simple to restore some or all of your data. And with unlimited version retention, CrashPlan can also be your ultimate rewind button. Businesses of all sizes benefit from CrashPlan's multi-tenant capabilities. Buy as many user licenses as you need and easily manage them all under one account. Go to crashplan.com/designbetter for 50% off your first year of CrashPlan. That's crashplan.com/designbetter, all one word, for 50% off your first year. Back up better with CrashPlan.
I'm a big believer that travel is an essential part of living a creative life. It gets me out of my comfort zone, it connects me to new people, and it broadens my perspective on the world. Just in the past 6 months, I've been to Paris, Japan twice, and soon I'm heading to South Africa and Zimbabwe. To get the most out of my adventures, I do my best to pick up some of the local language before I go, and Babbel has become my go-to tool to learn languages quickly. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are created by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. It's conversational, practical, and it's reinforced as you progress, so what you learn, it actually sticks with you. You can learn Spanish, French, German, Italian, Portuguese, Swedish, Russian, Turkish, Dutch, Polish, Norwegian, Indonesian, or Danish. It's fun, and man, it's so rewarding. And here's a special limited time deal for our Design Better listeners. Right now you can get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/designbetter. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/designbetter, and that's spelled BABBEL.com/designbetter. Rules and restrictions may apply. Web designers, this one's for you. I've got 1 minute to tell you about Wix Studio, the web platform for agencies and enterprises. So here are a few things that you can do from start to finish in 1 minute or less on Studio. You can adapt your designs for every device using responsive AI, reuse assets like templates, widgets, sections, and design libraries across sites and share them with your team. Switch up the styling of hundreds of web pages. That means fonts, layouts, colors, all in a click. Add no-code animations and gradient backgrounds right in the editor. Export your designs from Figma to Wix Studio in just a click. Oh, and one more big one. Package and deliver everything your client needs in one smooth handover. Time's up, but the list keeps going. Step into Wix Studio and see for yourself. And now, back to the show.
Roger Horrocks, welcome to the Design Better podcast.
Thank you very much.
We are really thrilled to have you here. Aaron and I are big fans of your work, most notably My Octopus Teacher. And before we started recording, I mentioned that I was watching it again last night with my daughter. And the first time that we watched it, she was a bit younger. She was, I think, 9, maybe 10. And one of the early scenes where the octopus got injured really upset her. She was very sensitive at the time. It still is about animals getting hurt, so she couldn't watch the rest of it. But this time, she's got a little older, and she watched it the whole way through and loved it, like I love it. My son, on the other hand, he watched it the whole way through. He's a bit younger. He's 8 now. And he had watched it the first time, and I tried to get him to watch it again this time. He's like, Dad, I've already seen this. So there's no accounting for taste. But regardless, my daughter and I, my wife too, really love the movie. So thank you so much for helping bring it to the world.
Yeah, Craig and I have been friends for, we first met in 2006. So, we've traveled many journeys together, made many films. And it was just wonderful to, be able to be part of one that kind of really resonated on that kind of global stage.
My guess is that something that most people aren't familiar with as far as the backstory is, what is the actual production and timeline and story behind the scenes look like? I know some amount of it was the footage from Craig himself, who's obviously a cameraman and take footage. You're the main cinematographer. Maybe you could talk us a little bit about the collaboration between you and Craig and the director and how that kind of took shape.
As I mentioned earlier, I met Craig a long time ago, and we made a couple of films up in the Okavango Delta exploring diving with crocodiles. So Craig actually worked for many years with his brother, Damon Foster, and they were known as the Foster brothers. They won the Golden Panda Award for one of their first films when they were like 25. So, really talented, passionate filmmakers. So I started working with Craig then, and around 2014, which was when he'd kind of he actually burnt out making the films with me. So, he talks about the burnout. So there were these 3 films that we made. And my career had been sort of developing alongside. I was very determined to become, a top underwater cinematographer, and had made some progress in that direction. And Blue Planet 2 was announced. I think that was around 2015. And I still wasn't really on the radar as like a highly, respected cameraman at the time. So I actually pitched a story to the team around the kelp forest. And it wasn't really that strong. And I was in Egypt at the time. And I remember calling Craig and saying, listen, this is what I'm thinking. Do you have anything? And he suggested this behavior that he'd seen. So I pitched that, and essentially the BBC kind of commissioned us to do that sequence. I was so determined to get it right because I knew this was my big break, and Craig was kind of in this interesting space as well. So we basically that's all we did. We committed ourselves to going out and trying to tell the story. So that happened over a 2-year period. And during that 2-year period, we created this extensive archive of footage. And in Blue Planet 2, there's the armoring octopus. That is the same animal.
It's a famous octopus.
It's the player. It's the one. Yeah. So, that was the incredible thing, is that we just committed ourselves to, learning. And to be honest, I was terrified of failure. So I was driven by, I knew I had this opportunity, and I was still developing my craft, learning. So yeah, we were really, really fanatical about spending that time. And after the success of that sequence, Craig was sort of going through his whole sort of journey. And that's when he decided to actually start working on the film. He got Pippa Ehrlich involved. And, as you say, it was really drawing from that massive archive, the 2-year archive that we developed together. And then, of course, his even more extensive archive over 5-10 years of diving in the kelp forest. So that was really what seeded the My Octopus Teacher film.
So we should probably provide some sort of like a quick synopsis for listeners who've not yet seen My Octopus Teacher. If you haven't seen it, press pause right now and go watch it, because it's a profound documentary about a relationship that's formed between Craig, your collaborator, and an octopus. And Craig's sort of like reevaluating his life. So it begins with this sort of like existential, what's it all about type of questioning that leads to some free exploration underwater and building a relationship with this octopus. So if we were starting there, like as a person watching the film, my thought the whole time was like, well, this is an impossible premise. How do you actually capture this? Could you take us through that? It sounds like you had some footage, so maybe you already knew, like, we've got enough that we could work on to build an actual story. But from a viewer's perspective, I just thought, like, man, how do you even begin to capture this and then guarantee that you're going to have a narrative that's useful after so much investment?
That's the thing is that at the time, we had no intention of making a film, a documentary film of that kind of nature. So just so beautifully focused on trying to document the natural behavior that you are actually seeing. I wasn't massively involved in the editing process, which obviously took quite a long time, but that was a massive effort because there was so much material. I did 1 day of shooting where I shot the shots of Craig sort of swimming, just generic kind of shots because, as I say, at the time, we weren't intending to make a documentary. But it was literally 1 day. I remember I had one card, I had an issue with my camera, and they literally used every single shot that I shot on that specific shoot that day. If I remember correctly, looking at some of the original sort of edits, Craig was going to narrate the film, but he wasn't going to be in the film. He was going to kind of be in the film, but he wasn't going to talk to camera. And I think that was pivotal. So when they brought James Reed in to actually do the interviews, I think that was actually quite a seminal step because James is, very talented. And I think that enabled you to connect with Craig because Craig's an intense guy. I mean, it's the danger in a film like this is you don't connect with him, and if you don't connect with Craig, then the film falls completely flat. I think the film went through a number of different sort of iterations, as all films do. But having that construct, of the interview, that was brilliant. That was a real game changer.
I know you weren't deeply involved in that part of the process, but I'm curious how you thought about, a lot of documentary work in like nature documentary is sort of distancing us as the observing human from our subjects, putting us on kind of a different plane. And I think part of what made this film so successful is that real, very strong connection between the animal, the octopus, and the human. Did you get any kind of inkling of that as you were working on the film, or was it sort of surprise when this footage started to be assembled?
I don't have a biology background, so I'm not a scientist by any means. And I think one of the great problems with science is it creates this kind of blind spot, this notion that you've got humans and then there's animals and there's a fundamental difference between them. I don't see that at all. We are a human animal. We're the ultimate human, we're animals, and it's just a gradient. So I think this whole notion of that you can't anthropomorphize, I can't say that word, anthropomorphize, I think it's bullshit. I think it's absolute bullshit.
If you'd like to continue listening to this conversation, you'll need to subscribe at designbetterpodcast.com/subscribe. Once you do, you'll get access to every full-length episode, all ad-free, monthly AMAs with inspiring people in design and tech, and recordings of all our past AMAs. The podcast is available to everyone through our scholarship program. If you can't afford a subscription, just email us at subscriptions@thecuriositydepartment.com and we'll help you out. Your support makes Design Better possible. Invest in yourself and the design community by subscribing at designbetterpodcast.com.